Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here on a nice Monday with the PWCC Weekly Review, where I go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned off this week on the PWCC platform. Per usual, if you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, appreciate it greatly, helps the channel a ton. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Starting off here for the top 100, we start at $180, which is notably higher than a lot of recent auctions, so some bigger cards in here presumably. We start off with a 1923 Alcantara PSA 4 going for 180 there. Slowly learning a little bit more about the Spanish issues as I go, but typically, I mean, $200 for a Spanish issue is pretty good. There's a lot that go relatively cheap. That's not a bad sale. Next to that, we have a Pedri Green Auto. We have a David Beckham 2002 Upper Deck Manchester United Legends. I haven't really seen this card itself, but it looks pretty good and pulls a pretty decent price in a pop 1 of 1. Above that, a 1925 Dixie Dean, so this is going to be rookie material, but a team photo, of course, so that goes for 186. We have a Rivaldo PSA 5. We talked about those recently, so that's about where they've been going. This Kubala, wanted to look it up because we don't really see too many Kubalas. This one actually a good bit lower than the last one. That was 372. So a decent bit of a drop from the ones prior, but there hasn't really been a drop in these sales. So I guess that's sort of par for the course. It's coming back to the market a bit. Above that, we have a 1946 Nanina. These are, pretty hard to get. Of course, you have the Puskás coming from this set that's pretty highly coveted. This is a lesser star, but a star that still, has performed at World Cups. Hungarian legend. Goes for $200 there in a pop 1 of 2, just one higher. So not that easy to get. I think the Puskás I looked was like less than a pop 10. So you're not going to find tons of them, even of secondary stars. 1923 Schaefer here in a PSA 3. We have a Hope Solo Auto. I've seen this card before. I think in the sports card collector investor dealer guy. I think he has that card maybe. Looks like a sticker. Yeah, definitely a sticker at the bottom, but an emerald, just pop 1 of 1, 2 graded higher. Goes for 198. We have a 2022 Leaf jersey card, an Erling Haaland sticker auto from 2022 as well, and then we have a 2018 Kylian Mbappe green. We saw the reds held up relatively well recently, so I'd assume the greens have done all right as well. Above that, we have a 1994 Panini Calciatore PSA 8 Totti going for a decent price at 204. Kubala here, a 1959 Heinerle in a PSA 5. This seemed high to me, and notably, it is the same exact cert as the last sale, which is always, moderately concerning, especially when the last sale was just about 2 months ago. So interesting to see that, but a massive jump. Interesting to see if that goes again. If not, I thought that was a bit high personally. I'm someone, looking for the Heinerle set, and a 5 for Kubala at 204 just seemed like a bit much to me. But yeah. Kind of terrifying as well for the picture. Most of the Heinerles look pretty good. This one, could haunt me. Kylian Mbappe 2019 Immaculate Collection. Potential rookie if you want to, put that in the constellation. I don't know. 2021 Trinity Rodman. We have a 1941 Zara. We've seen one of these go recently. This cut's pretty wonky as you can tell, but gets a 2. Goes for 216. We have a nice 30s Miazza here in a CSG 1 going for 216. We have a Heung-min Son auto next to a Diego Maradona PSA 8. This is a pop 1 of 3, none higher. So I see these around quite a bit, but obviously in high grade, not that easy to get. So 222 there, pretty nice looking. Next to that, we have a 2022 Triad auto of Phil Foden, KDB, and Erling Haaland. Above that, we have a 2021 Kaboom Robert Lewandowski going for 228. I think this is the best Kaboom in the auction, at least to my eyes. I'm not a big Kaboom guy. We'll see some other ones later, but I'd rather have this one, so keep that in mind. 228, I felt like that was decent. Next to that, we have 1995 LCD Publishing David Beckham in an 8 going for 234. I did look this up just because, honestly, I see them, but I never really pay attention to the prices. It seemed pretty consistent, and that is sort of the takeaway here. Looking at past sales, we have 234, 192, 204. So, I mean, from the bottom, up 20% on this sale, but nothing all too crazy. But still, good to see. 2023, this is an Endrick, a 7 out of 7. That was a big name at one point. I have not heard basically anyone talk about him since. Maybe that's because, we have Leaf products of him, and that's not very exciting, but goes for 240 there. We have a Ramos PSA 8 going for 240 next to a Andres Iniesta PSA 9 that goes for 252. Took a peek at this. We haven't looked at this too much lately. Spoiler, there is one that goes for 288 here in a second. This one goes for 252. Also, we have, prior to this, a 120 on fixed price, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if that was a real, I presume a real sale. Before that, a 9 went for 91. So those are some big jumps on, like almost tripling in price. Yeah, I mean, that's just interesting, I would say. I also like the color on these two much better than the other ones. Just from these small pictures here, you can't really tell. But yeah, if you go down here, I think these look much better than those. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'll be interested to see, I guess, basically if that keeps up, right? If something triples in price, I do think that a PSA 9 Iniesta being like $90 is pretty cheap. But as we'll come to see, I mean, the Messi didn't do crazy numbers in this auction. We saw PSA 9 go, so that's a good comparable. Here we have a Mega Rampino PSA 10 going for $264. Above that, first of many Messi rookies. This is a Catalan 7 of the green, going for $264. We have a Pele sort of perforated item for $264 from 1969, and a Kenny Dalglish panel here from 1968. Kenny Dalglish having more than a few different rookie items. One of the reasons this is in the constellation, but not like a clear-cut rookie. If you look at the back, I mean, it's just like words. So I believe this is a cutout from some newspaper of sorts, or something along the lines where it's definitely debatable. So that's just one of the few. Above that, we have a panel with Pele here. He is at the bottom. Nice looking panel. We have a Eusebio Sicker Verlag going for $264 in a PSA 5. Pop one at 410 higher. This is a fun copper 2016 Cristiano Ronaldo. Personally, I like the vertical field levels. I think that they offer something a bit unique. Obviously, Ronaldo's going to do numbers, but this one does 300 for a pop 1 of 17, just 2 higher, so really hard to gem those. We see the other 9 Iniesta go for 288 next to a Beckham 9 that goes for 288. We'll see a 10 in this auction here in a bit, so I'll look up that price when we get there. Still more of these, like, I don't know. Leaf offers something, I will give them that, but I've never been enticed by the, 3-4 person auto, relic, whatever it may be, because realistically, no one ever wants all 4 of those. I mean, what kind of person do you have to be to want a City player, a Barca player, and a Real Madrid player? I mean, you must just be the absolute worst sort of fan to want to own that card. So I don't get it, but it is what it is. Sort of the same thing here, but a little bit cooler, I guess. This is a 2021, 2022. This is a Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. Basically, the front has Haaland, back has Mbappe. A little piece of the jersey. This is a 2007 Di Maria. It says pop 1 of 1, PSA 10. I'll take them for their word. Graded pretty recently, so that's a fun one. You also have sort of, I guess, the lineage with, Ronaldo being there a half-decade prior. So, also keeping it within the Portuguese league, here we have João Felix. This is an out of 75 PSA 10 going for 312. Obviously down a lot from, the days where he was the wonder kid of the hobby and sort of the prospect. But I would imagine that this is up a good bit. I mean, 312 for what is surely a nice rookie, but not like, the most coveted. Blue Wave isn't really a parallel people are actively, seeking out. So, 2007 Messi PSA 10 Marble. I think we saw one of these last week. Could be same one, could be a different one. I'd presume a different one. But notable that, there's many of them running, at least from what I can tell. We have a 1994 Buffon. This is his true rookie and one that's been, coming to market a bit more lately. If we look back, there was basically none before November of last year. When they came out, they were very expensive. This one actually does a decent price, though. It goes for $312. The last PSA 6 did about half that price. So it seems to have doubled, but there also wasn't one that sold for about 2 months. So, that's going to play a role. And so seems to be up quite a bit. Next to that, another Erling Haaland sticker auto. Above that, we have a 2019 Topps Chrome PSA 10. This Maradona Authentic Altered Estampas goes for a decent price, $336. Looking at some recent comps, I mean, there was a PSA, what is it? There's a 1 and a 2 comp in here. So yeah, we have a PSA 1 right here for $384 and a 2 for $576. So an Authentic Altered at $336 seems like a pretty decent sale. 1959 Heinerle with the MK designation and a 3 goes for $336. Generally looks pretty good. I guess, yeah, you got that blue mark there on the back, and that's going to do it for you. In this row, nothing I want to talk about too much. I mean, Pele team rookie. We also have a Phil Foden Kaboom. I was saying I'd much rather have the Lewandowski Kaboom rather than this. This is almost double the price, too. This was interesting to me. This Walter Zenga, one, I didn't know who he was, looked him up, basically notable Italian keeper for both club and country. But this was really interesting. So it's a PSA 9. The back is absolutely horrendous. And I looked up to see if this was a common thing. I mean, the backs weren't good for a lot of the ones that I saw, but this, I mean, a PSA 9? Like, look at that. That's insanely discolored. And just the text is so bad. I mean, to think that this is a 9. Sure, the front's good. I mean, I'll give you that. It doesn't look too bad. A little off center, right to left, whatever. Generally looks pretty good. But yeah, I mean, that back was just shocking. That was absolutely shocking. And, you know, maybe PSA just doesn't pay as much attention to the back as most people would think. Maybe I'm being too harsh on that one. I don't think I'm being too harsh. There could be something known with that release where maybe that's more common and so it's accounted for, but to me that was just pretty shocking. Row above that, couple sticker autos, MVB right there. Sort of a weird looking sticker right there with sort of a thumbprint design. Next to that, we have a Leaf Striking Ronaldo auto and a Leaf quad patch, or no, actually octa patch. Golly. 1998 Shevchenko above that goes for $372 and a CGC 6.5. Never really seen this, honestly. I know Shevchenko has sort of a weird constellation of rookies, given his, you know, heritage and sort of, you know, that area of Europe being a bit more difficult to pin down. So there's sort of different things at different times. They don't have rookie in this title, but I'd imagine people class it in that rookie era, so it gets a good price next to it. We have an Erling Haaland here, a silver sticker auto going for near $400. Then we have a San Giorgio Bobby Moore PSA 3, goes for near $400. Recently, there have been a couple to sell. This PSA 4 went for $630. We had one in March go for $4,500 in PSA 8. There was a PSA 2 sale a little over a year ago for $2,000 for PSA 2. So obviously since then down a lot. Still a pretty, rare sticker. We've seen more of these come out lately, but generally speaking, pretty rare. And as far as I'm aware, the best Bobby Moore, sort of rookie item. Love when you can get some striking colors and vintage, and this is, a pretty eye-catching set, at least, to me. Keeping it moving, pretty good pace this week, gonna pat myself on the back, I'm doing all right. But, yeah, working forward, we have a 1/1 Neymar patch. This is a non-game use, not matched with any specific event, whatever, yada, yada. Goes for a little over $400. Personally, I'd just rather have a 1/1 Neymar without a patch or some sort of fake thing inside of it. I think that'd be great. But yeah, it gets $408 for the 1/1. I guess it is what it is. Mia Hamm SI for kids goes for a little over $400 in PSA 9. This is the card that had a massive PSA 10 sale. I can't even remember, but I think it was tens of thousands is the price I remember. The 9's obviously, going to be a lot easier to get perforated stuff. For some reason, insanely rare to get a 10, even though, very hard to grade at the same time. So it's incredibly weird, at least to me. Then we have a 1932 Bulgaria of Sindelar. This is basically the early attainable Sindelar for most people. And yeah, this one gets, $420 for a PSA 8. A PSA 3 goes for the same night for only $27, but that's obviously very low grade. PSA 7s don't even really get that much respect at like $80 recently during the summer, but PSA 8s do get a good premium. Last one was $450. This one gets $420, so in the ballpark. Pop 1 of 8, so not incredibly easy, but also at the same time for 1932, not incredibly rare. Above that, we have a Miazza 1931. A Domini here, a little bit later year. Obviously, Miazza has 20 stuff that's relevant. We'll see, I believe, another one from the same set a little bit later, but, time will tell. Pop 1 of 1, just 2 graded higher, goes for $432. Next to that, we have a couple Messis, a PSA 8 and a PSA 4, so that really shows you the respect that the sticker's getting, despite the fakes that are out there. People still covet the sticker, goes for $444 and PSA 4, pretty cool. Looking at it, pretty decent looking for to me. It doesn't, pop out to me right away where this is a 4 or how it's a 4. Very well could just be, some surface stuff. Stickers are very easy to damage, so a PSA 4, very easy to understand how that happens. PSA 8 of the white Campio goes for near $500. That's basically what those are always at. Almost as consistent as these Erling Haaland Sapphire editions, which makes you wonder. Like Erling Haaland Sapphires, we see about as many of them every week sell as, like, they sell for the same price as Messi rookies. And so I'd sort of equate these, like, right, these Messi sort of team rookies seem to be on the same level as this, but how does this keep up? Like, there are 4 of these every single week, and, I'm sure there's more on other platforms. All the time there are people hunting Haaland, and that's just crazy to me, that every single week, there's just guys looking to stock up on Haaland, despite him not doing, well, obviously he won the treble and, yada, yada. No one really collects City. No one really cares. So, like, how are all these people here? Obviously, it's a prospecting game, but it just goes to show how, powerful that is. We have a 91 Luis Figo. Really a fun one. I think it's a little different in the sense that there's a calendar on the back, so it's a bit different. Don't believe this doesn't seem to be the Panini one. I know there's a Panini calendar as well. And yeah, it looks really good on the front. I like the look of this one a lot. A CGC 6 goes for $552. Really like the look of that, and that gets a good price. yeah, this, I hate talking about this, basically a set that, I mean, at least to my understanding, could just be like fake or something along those lines. But yeah, highly discredited within the soccer community, and something that's pretty easy to find in high grade, has a weird history. You see these releases for like new guys as well. I think I saw one, might have been for João Felix, I don't know, but they pop up, and it's a little odd to me. But PSA grades it, they grade it early, and it's I guess in theory, a nice looking Ronaldo, so it gets 630. Above that, we have an out of 25 Jude Bellingham orange that goes for 660 in a PSA 9. I mean, doesn't feel crazy for Jude, out of 25 rookie, but at the same time, he has so many out of 25 rookies, or just rookies in general, that I'm sure that still is a good price, to be honest with you. Again, another kaboom that I don't quite understand. I'd rather have the Lewandowski earlier. Post-playing career stuff always just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not going to buy a player's cards until the end of time. You're just not going to get me to do it, right? So yeah, I mean, $700 for a kaboom. And this is part of the thing too. People, obviously the soccer market's dipped, but I think a lot of that is, one, confidence, right? When stuff dips, people don't have the confidence to go out there and spend like they did before. And I think that's sort of a cascading effect, right? But two is people being distracted by all this new shiny stuff. And that's going to always happen. But when you think about it, I mean, there's very little in the Kaká playing career that's going to warrant $700, right? I mean, his rookies do. I'm sure he has some on-card stuff that does, but outside of that, I don't think there's barely anything. And, you know, people pay that for modern day product that's being ripped and coming out because it has brands that they know, and because, you know, it sort of makes sense, at least at the time. But then, you know, you think about it 10 years on, who's going to care about, you know, what is it? I don't know, 16th, 17th, 18th year Kaká, where he's not even in like any sort of form anymore. He's not playing. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Every single day of the week, give me this Cristiano Ronaldo PSA 10 red out of this row. This is his World Cup, well, not World Cup, but his Euro win. Obviously, no one cares about that now because Messi won the World Cup, so, you know, get stuffed. But PSA Pop 1 of 4 goes for 700. I did look this up just to see, and in the past, we have a sale for 540. That's a PSA 9. We have a sale for 1,000. That's a PSA 10. And we have a sale for 3,000. That's a PSA 10. 3,000's near the peak. The 1,000 was last year, and then about a year later, we're down 30 to 40%. Personally, I like the 2016 Ronaldo stuff. I know most people don't, but I find it funny how, you know, Messi World Cup win has this huge narrative where every single product from that year is now highly coveted, but a Ronaldo Euro win, no one cares. No one cares at all. But I mean, $700 isn't anything to scoff at, but in Ronaldo realm, you know, that's not a ton. We have a 1958 Pele rookie here with the Russian team as well. Goes for 780 and a PSA 2 from the Bremer Fakring set. We have a Refractor 2019 Holland PSA 10 that goes for 810. A Leo and Luis Suarez 2 of 3 auto going for 810 from, what is that, 2018 Leaf. Above that, we have a couple cool vintage ones. So we have a 1938 Nasasi PSA 7. Did look that up. We don't have many PSA sales of it, at least in high grade. So there was a 1 last night that went for 54 and a 7 that went for 840. So quite the difference. I actually did push this 54 one. I think I probably pushed it from like 35 to close to 55. Really just looked nice on the front. I wanted No Princess Ramona back. I didn't want to spend a ton because they're a more common back, but that looked really good. This 7 obviously going to look better. The front looks, you know, really, really clean. The back obviously looks good as well. Don't have many comps on really high grade stuff, but if we do look back, there was an SGC 7 in February of 2022 that sold for 900. So relative to that, this is about at the same price, but in between that, in mid and late 2022, there was sort of a Koenig boom. And here you can see an SGC 5 does 780. Part of this, though, you do have to worry about backs, right? This is a Nil Princess Ramona back, so that's the most common. So this is the same back, right? So you can tell, I mean, if that's selling for 780 and there was an SGC 7 selling for, you know, 900, that's a big boom. And now we've kind of come back down to earth a little bit more. Recently we had, a CSG 4 sell for 252. So, you know, I guess the 7 sort of gets the price it should. But yeah, not that bad really in a world where, you know, some of that stuff's gone down a lot. 1965 TTT Franz Beckenbauer. This is his in-action shot item from the set. Number 218 PSA 6 pop 1 of 3 higher goes for $870. Did take a peek at this. Really like it, honestly. It sort of has like a gladiatorial feel with the background. I know that's sort of just like a building, but it feels like a gladiatorial area. It seems like you're within the Coliseum, but looks really cool. Goes for $870. We've had a lot of these go on sale this year, and I mean that's just sort of them coming to market and the market desiring them and sort of that combination. But I mean, back in 2021 there was barely any sales. Then in 2022 and 2023 we've had a ton. Recently 1s and 2s have gone for $50 to $100. So seeing a 6 at $900 is a pretty good premium for a higher graded item. There was a PSA 4 in April that went for $990, so relatively. I guess that looks bad, but there was a SGC 3 that went for $330. So, depending on which sale you go from, generally I would say makes sense to me. Personally, I'd probably just prefer to get a 3 for like maybe $100, $200 if you can. But at the same time, really cool 6, high grade. Next to it, we have a Portugal Immaculate 2017 Ronaldo patch. Obviously got the Portuguese logo there, so that's really cool. 2004 Mega Cracks Panini Messi. This is the number 89 PSA 9 going for near 1,000. That's typically about what we see. Next to that, a more attainable Dean, but in pretty good grade PSA 7 pop 1 of 5, just 1 higher, goes for 1,000 right there. We'll see another one from him here in a second. Actually, a year later. We have a Cristiano Ronaldo sticker auto out of, what is that? No numbering? Okay, just PSA 10, pop 1 of 11. This is a 1920s item with Miazza in it, which is always going to be a headliner, so that gets 1,100 in a SGC 3. We have a Flashes Do Football Pele 1962 that goes for 1,200. I did take a peek at that just to see. We see a decent amount of these. This one goes for 1,200. If we look back, last PSA 4 did 1,500. I'd be interested if those are the same here. I'm guessing not, right? So that's 8-1. Okay, different certs. So that's always good to see. But yeah, looking backwards, don't see a ton of these. We've seen at least a few on the auction blocks. This PSA 2 did 540 in June. So I guess, to see a PSA 4 go for 1,200 seems to be about right in line. I always think that if you're a Pele collector, you should just be a Garrincha collector as well, if you really truly are a collector, because like right here, you could get the Garrincha. Sure, it's a grade less, but you could get it for less than a tenth of the price. Amazing looking Garrincha, PSA 3. If I was a Pele collector, I feel like I would want to pair that with a Garrincha just to have both of them throughout the history of time, to be able to compare. And just, I think collecting wise, it's a lot of fun, but to each their own. If you're not a Garrincha guy, then, by all means, you do you. Lionel Messi 2015 Select sticker auto goes for $1,260. Above that, we have a 2009 Neymar. This is a Brill Goal. This goes for $1,300 and a PSA 8 pop 1 of 6, none higher. Did look this up. This is down a good bit. So $1,260 down from earlier this year. It's $2,760. And then prior to this, it was $2,200 and $400. So obviously quite the meteoric rise from $400 to $2,200. Now coming back down to earth a little bit more at $1,200. It seems to make sense to me. I mean, anywhere from $800 to $1,500 would seem to be sort of the cushiony range that it would fall in. We'll see as far as where that goes. Personally, I like this one more than the other headshot one, so I think it deserves a premium. And this is something good to think about. I mean, this Mbappe 9.5 goes for near the same price. There's a lot of these. Like PSA 10, I don't know the pop, but I know there's multiple, tens of them, and, maybe pushing 100, probably over 100. Honestly, not too sure. But basically, if you add up 9s, 10s, 9.5s, right, there's probably tons. And this Neymar is, one of the 2 rookies he has. It's not even really debatable, right? With Mbappe, you debate 2016, 2017, 2018. With Neymar, you don't debate anything. It's 2009 or it's nothing. And this is pop 1 of 6, none higher. And it can only pull 1,260. So it goes to show that the prospects win the day yet again. But yeah, the Mbappe does a good number. That's also a min gem with a 9 on the corner. So, make note. We have matchups here. Messi, Ronaldo. The red goes for $1,300. The purple goes for $1,400. I'd be interested in what you guys would want. Honestly, I feel like I'd go with the red and just save $100. I think the red with the Ronaldo looks good. Purple just, always sort of random in the 2014 Prism set. Doesn't really go well with almost anything. Next to that, we have 2017 Kylian Mbappe Refractor, and more importantly, PSA 10 David Beckham Premier Gold. So I did take a look at that just to see what this has sold for in the past, and my word, were they some big sales. So we have $1,300, $4,400, $7,200, and $10,500. Despite the David Beckham documentary coming out recently, we were not able to avoid the fall. We are still down quite a bit. I guess a little easier to laugh because I don't own high grades of this card, and honestly, the high grade narrative always sort of seemed suspect to me. It always seemed like investors trying to invest rather than collectors trying to collect, which is sort of the thing. There's always this investment grade talk and narrative, but at the end of the day, even within investment grade, there has to be collectors. It can't just be all investors selling to each other. There has to be collectors in there. And, for stuff like this at $10,000, you're probably not having many collectors in there. Time goes on, some grade, they go lower. This feels much more comfortable than prior, although I will say even $1,300 for David Beckham. David Beckham has a lot of options, but obviously this is a good one. But again, not even truly a rookie. So, something to think about. Above that, we move into what is, I think, sort of the top 9. So we have a PSA 9 of the Campio. Messi goes for $14.40. Pretty decent price. This is within the range usually. The green and the blue, I expect, 1 to 2K somewhere in there. So $14.40. Pop 1 of 31, 6 graded higher. The green is pretty hard to grade in PSA especially, and so that's notable. Guessing, just the bottom coloring on the sides. You got a lot that can go wrong. The back isn't too crazy, so interesting to me, but the Campio for that one doesn't grade all too well. Found this interesting too. The Monday Chromo PSA 9 goes for the exact same price. In my head, I thought the Monday Chromo was like a step above this, but at the same time, the Monday Chromo is hurt by the fact that it's basically the most plentiful of any of the Messis graded. Now, at the same time, this is the only Messi in Monday Chromo, while with this Messi, that's a Team Mega Crack set that has 3 Messis in it. So really, while this is one Messi, there's 3, and I think it dilutes it a little bit, but, pair that with the higher pop of the Monday Chromo. Net, they're even in this auction. I find that to be pretty interesting. Typically, I would have expected the Monday Chromo to be a bit higher. So, something to note going forward. Here we have the Piola from the set that we saw the Miazza from earlier. This is a 1.5. It does $1,500, presumably because Piola is a bit later in time. And so I'd imagine that this is much more of a, coveted item for him. Also being pop 1 of 1, none higher. If you want it, you're going to have to pay up for it, it would seem. So that seems to make sense. Also recently graded, so I always love to throw that out there. Maybe there's a lot of people looking for it for a while, waiting for something, and finally got the set there. Into the top 6, though, we have a BVG 4.5 Pele Aquarella. Goes for $19.50. We have, a mishmash of autos here. If you think Erling Haaland's a GOAT, want to pair him with other GOATs, you can pay near $3,000 to ride that ride. Next to that, we have a Dean 1927 Rocher and Co. Limited. Famous footballers of a PSA 7 pop 1 of 3, just 1 higher. So pretty decent grade, of course, for something, again, almost 100 years old. $3,100, pretty notable early Dean. Not the notable early Dean, also called the Rising Sun. I've seen that before, actually. To me, that's more notable or more memorable than whatever name they gave it. The Rising Sun, though, goes for $3,100 there, and that's a fun early Dean. He has a lot of respect when it comes to pre-war, so that would explain why he gets such a good price. And then that brings us into the top 3 where we get some colors and some vintage. So here we have an out of 75. This is a Champions League Blue Wave Refractor Haaland in a BGS 10. Not going to be able to comp this, not going to be able to see what other stuff goes for because this is it, right? It goes for $33.60, and honestly, I think part of the problem with parallels is it's so hard to even know, like, if this is a good deal or not. Like, when I look at other cards throughout here, like these base cards, or at least cards that are comparable to other cards in that range, like, I know what to say, right? This, I guess, whatever the people want to pay. I mean, it's just sort of its own crazy, unique world. To me, I don't even really like the Champions League Chrome from this year. I truly prefer the Bundesliga Chrome. I think it just looks better. A lot of people debate sort of lineage and which one should matter more. I think in theory, Champions League's better, but if your design is as bad as this is, at least in my opinion, I don't think it really matters. Next to that, we have a Select Unlimited Potential Camo out of 20. So this is, pop 1 of 5, goes for $3,700. Unlimited Potential, one that's, pretty noted in terms of early Kylian Mbappe. I really like it. The camo, I've always felt a little weird on with Select, because sometimes they make it out of like 250, sometimes they make it out of 20. And to me, that kind of ruins it because, how are you going to convince people that you really got to pay for that out of 20 when I could just go to a different year and get it for much cheaper and, it still looks the same, right? I think it's a little, a little tough. I don't think it makes as much sense. And then finally, we end off with the 1958 Aquarella in a BVG6. This one, black number, so, notable. Honestly, doesn't look 6-ish to me. I mean, I'm sure it's in good condition. Honestly, the coloring does look pretty good, and it doesn't really have like any creases or anything notable in that regard. But sort of, the edge is pretty brown. It's always so hard to tell with these in terms of how they grade, because whenever the, corners, edges, whenever it's all perforated like that, it's just incredibly hard to really get a gauge. But this goes for 45.60, and I think that sort of accounts for it. Lately, I thought we've been seeing BVG get sort of a premium, but not so much this week. I mean, a PSA 1 to 2 probably goes in the 1,000 to 2,000 range for the Aquarella, so a 4.5 being in that range is, a pretty big discount. And same thing goes for the 6. I mean, a PSA 6 would do pretty crazy, I would think. So it seems to be discounted, and probably rightfully so. But that's going to do it for this auction. In general, some fun stuff. There's definitely, a lot of unique vintage. I'm really enjoying that. And I think vintage is sort of, a fun play during the times where, there's not as much chasing going on in Ultramodern. I think that, some of the standouts from the past are definitely going to have their day. And generally speaking, pretty nice. Definitely some oddballs that you don't see all too often with the Neymar, the PSA 10, David Beckham. A ton of fun ones. So hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, of course, make sure to leave a like. Would love to hear your thoughts down below on the auction. Anything you thought sold high, low, maybe something you bought. Would love to hear it down below. Sadly, couldn't get myself into the auction this week, but obviously, don't want to be doing that every week, and happy to wait a little bit. So if you did enjoy, of course, again, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos as soon as I go live. And with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.